Hi everyone, welcome back to another one of my videos. It's the 8th of June and today I'm going to be focusing on my chilies. I've got a whole load of chilli plants that I planted and I'm going to be repotting them today and just chatting in general a little bit about chilli plants and how to care for them and what to do with them. These plants here, they're all different varieties. I did have a note of which was which, but I've lost track of that now. They were planted back on the 24th of February, so they've had about 3.5 months worth of growing now. As you can see, they're all at different stages, which is based on the variety that they are. When I was planting them initially, I started them off in these little 2.5, 3-inch pots here. I planted 3 seeds in each one, approximately 5mm deep, which is the best depth for sowing seeds at, chilli seeds at. And then of course you have to keep them warm. I didn't have a heated propagator, so what I did was put them in the airing cupboard. Although what I will say is I sowed a lot of different varieties, from very mild chilies right up to really hot chilies. And the mild seed and the medium seeds germinated perfectly. They all came up and they were great, but the hot and the extra hot chilies I had very poor germination on, and I think it's purely because what I've learned is that the hotter the actual chilli, the higher temperature they need to germinate. So without a heated propagator, I would probably next time just tend to stick to the mild and the medium varieties, because like I say, the hot and the extra hot I really didn't have much success with at all. But yeah, these guys today, I'm going to plant them into their final pots, and then I'm going to pop them over in my little polytunnel over there, so they can sit out there and hopefully grow me some nice chilies. The thing to note about chilies is that, like I say, I started them in these small 2.5-inch pots, and it might be tempting when they grow to suddenly transplant them into the final pot straight away, but chilies don't actually like that. The best thing to do with chilies is to repot them gradually. So I started with this pot, and then I went up to this size, which I suppose is about 4.5 inches, and then after that, when they'd grown, I put them into, again, a slightly larger pot, and then at the minute they're in this size. So yeah, it's always best, however tempting it might be, to skip out different pot sizes and repotting to save yourself some work. It's best to do it gradually because they grow better and they'll do better. I'm not quite sure why that is. Some people say it's to do with watering. It's because they don't like staying wet and moist for too long, so if they're in a bigger pot, obviously the compost will stay wetter for longer, whereas if they're in a smaller pot, the roots will absorb the water and they will get drier quicker. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. Today I'm just going to show you how easy it is to repot these guys here. What I've done is I've already part filled these with my compost. I'm using John Innes No. 2 compost, which is a soil based compost, which is the best kind for chilies really. It's a good quality compost to be using. And yeah, that's the one that I'm using today. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with this one. And this one is actually, the pot is much too small. I know I said about moving up to that size first, but I've left this one in this size pot for so long that it's actually skipped the stage naturally, and it's in a pot that's too small for it. So I'm going to pop that one straight in there. And the same with that one, I am going to pop him straight into a larger pot as well. Just because they've been sat for so long that's how I'm going to do it. But if they were smaller, I would have potted them up gradually. Now all I'm going to do is try and, there we go, put the pot in, make a sort of hole. What is that? Some kind of aeroplane. Huh, noisy aeroplane. That's very noisy. Anyway, so I've made my space for the chilli there, and then all I'm going to do is simply turn this pot upside down. A little tap if he doesn't come out easily. and you can tell they're ready for repotting when you can see all the roots around the edge like this, and he's definitely ready to go into his next size. And then all I'm going to do is very carefully pop them in there, and you don't want to be touching the stem at all when you're doing this. Avoid touching the stem. If you have to touch the plant at any point, touch it by a leaf, but it's best to avoid touching it as much as possible, and certainly not by the stem. And then all I'm going to do is take some more compost, okay, around the edges. Like so. Pat him down. Not patting him down too firmly, but I am making sure that he's in there and that he's going to do well in there. And the other thing, when potting on chilli seedlings, not so much applicable to bigger plants, but when you've got those tiny seedlings, if they've gone a bit leggy and they're a bit long, yeah, the nice thing about the chilli seedlings is that you can repot them at any point on the stem. So if they are leggy, just bury them right down to that first set of baby leaves and they'll be fine. They'll grow more roots and they should do perfectly well like that. So I've got this first one done. I'll pop him just there for now. He's all good to go. And then again, it's purely exactly the same for this one. Make a little hole for him, and then I'm going to slowly, carefully tip him out, and then get him in the space. And just fill up the edges with this compost, and it's so quick and easy to do. And now these will be their final pots. This is the final pot size that I'm going to. It's a 10-inch across pot, 25 centimetres, and he's going to do hopefully very well in there. And now I'm just going to pot up this third one, and then I'm going to chat to you a bit about the watering and the feeding of them. But you don't need to see me doing the third one, so I'll be back when he's done. Right, so that's the last one in, and they should be happy, and I'm going to pop them in the polytunnel in a minute, and that's perfect. And the next thing to talk about with chillies is watering. Chillies are a perfect plant for me actually, because it doesn't really matter if you forget to water them, and by that I mean a lot of plants, if it's a hot day or they need watering daily or at least every couple of days, whereas chillies don't mind going without water. And there's been times even with growing these where I've left them in the dining room, which is where I've been growing them at home, and I'll forget about them for 5-6 days, even up to a week, and I'll suddenly remember and I'll rush in there and the leaves will be drooping and they'll be looking partly dead. But as soon as they've had some water, they perk right up again. And it's actually better for chillies to be watered not too often, but when you do water them a lot. So give them a load of proper drenching and then leave them. You don't have to worry about watering them every day. If it's really hot and you've got them in a polytunnel and they're drying out, by all means do, but it does tend to be better for chillies to be left without so much water. So yeah, when you do water them a lot and then leave them. Let them dry out, let the compost dry out, and that tends to work. If you're unsure about when to water them, if you don't know if they need watering, one of the best tips I've got is, especially when they're in little pots like this, get used to how the chilli feels in its pot, how much it weighs when it's been watered, and then you can tell just by picking up a pot and giving it a little bit of a feel. And if it feels really light, then you know to give it a water. So yeah, the best thing I can say is to get used to the feeling of the pots in your hands and go with the weight as to whether they need watering or not. And the final thing I'm talking about today is feeding chillies. They're not by any means as hungry as tomatoes. If you're used to growing tomatoes and feeding them, then feeding chilies is going to be easy peasy for you. You can actually use tomato feed on these, but again, look at the directions on the tomato feed, and at least I would say halve it. You don't need the same volume of feed to chili plant as you do feed to tomato plant. So yeah, if you're going to use something like Tomorite or one of the other tomato feeders, halve the quantities and that should be doing perfectly. But the feed that I'm actually using on these is specifically designed for chilies. It's called Chilli Focus. I think it's widely available. I tend to get my chilli supplies from the South Devon chilli farm just because I really like it, and they've got a website. And again, it's all written on the bottle. As long as you can read and follow the instruction on the bottle, you can't really go wrong. Before they've got flowers, when they're just plants, as this one, it's 5 millilitres of feed per litre of water. On the ones like this, once they're more established and they've started to flower, you're going to want 10 millilitres of water per litre. 10 millilitres of food per litre of water. And if you give them the food once a week, that should be just about right. And so what I'm going to do, I've got 4 litres of water in here already. I've got some in there that need doing as well. They're all flowering in there. He's just about flowering, he's flowering. He would need a weaker strength, but because I'm going to water him at the same time and all the others are flowering, I'm going to go with the stronger strength. And he's pretty well established anyway. He should be flowering very shortly. In fact, I can see the buds just in there. So I'm going to give it a little shake up. And as I say, I've got 4 litres of water in the watering can. So I'm going to want 40 millilitres of feed, which is 2 up to here. 1 and 2. Give it a little mix up. I'd use a stick or something, but I haven't got a stick handy. So just, that'll do. Shake it up. And I'm just going to give these a good drench. That one. He's on a slope, isn't he? So that's not so good. And then I'm going to go round back to this one. Really soaking that compost. And oh, there we go. Put a stone underneath him. Don't want that water running off. And there we go. And now I'm going to transfer these down to the polytunnel. The optimum temperature for these chilies to actually be grown at is about 25 degrees, which is what I'm hoping I'll get on a nice day out here. We had a few really hot days a couple of weeks back, and I actually came down here and opened the polytunnel because it gets so hot in there, and if it gets above 40 degrees, these little chilli flowers will abort and you won't actually get the chilies. So the optimum temperature about 25 to 30 degrees, but don't go above 40, otherwise you may be disappointed when it comes to actually growing the chilies. So let's go and I'll show you what's going on in the polytunnel already. Right, so this is the polytunnel I'm using. We've had some really windy days and I'm very glad it hasn't fallen down. I obviously did a good job of getting it properly into the ground. And let's unzip and I can show you what's going on. Right, in here we have got, as you can see, there are some watermelons in here as well. This was actually my watermelon tunnel. I want another one like this for the chilies, but for the time being, oh, it's falling off in the wind. For the time being, the chilies and watermelons are sharing. So yeah, these are watermelons. And actually, just today you can see there is actually a tiny little watermelon growing there already. But anyway, today's video is about chilies. So yeah, the ones I've already got in here, this one, it's got nice and large, he's looking healthy. But if you come to this one just over here, we've actually already got our first chilli. So that is our first chilli of the season, with hopefully some more to follow very soon. And earlier when I was talking about the hot varieties I was growing not working very well, what I mean by that is that these were 2 chocolate habaneros. They were extra hot and they were sown on the 24th of February, same as all these other chilli plants, and that is all they've done so far. So yeah, I would definitely recommend, if you haven't got a heated propagator and somewhere to keep the temperature stable 25 degrees all the time, to stick with growing the milder versions, because that doesn't look like it's going to do a lot. And now all I'm going to do is find a little spot for these guys. That should do. Place them in the tunnel. This one down probably in that far right corner. Like so. And if we do get any really hot days, I will check the temperature in here, but at the minute it's not too hot and they'll be fine. So, I think that's everything I was going to tell you about chillies. I'm sure there's stuff I've forgotten, but if you've got any questions, just pop them down in the comments box. And yeah, I will give an update and see, show you when they've actually grown and when they're producing, and I'll give you an update on them then. But anyway, that's about it for now. So thank you for watching, and if you like my videos, subscribe, like, all of that jazz, and I will see you next time. Bye.